Picture this, you're sitting in the driver's seat of a massive truck, ready to hit the road. But wait, there's not one steering wheel in front of you, or there are two. Sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie, right? But here's the kicker, this wasn't fiction. Some trucks actually had dual steering wheels, and the reason behind it is as fascinating as it is practical. In this video, we're going on a journey to uncover the mystery of truck dual steering wheels. We'll explore why they were invented, how they worked, and why they eventually disappeared. By the end, you'll understand this quirky piece of trucking history and appreciate the clever engineering that solved a real-world problem. This story isn't just about trucks, it's about innovation and solving problems in ways you'd never expect. Back in the mid-20th century, truck drivers faced a unique challenge. Imagine driving across Europe, where some countries drive on the left side of the road and others on the right. For truckers, this wasn't just confusing, it was a logistical nightmare. Switching trucks or adjusting to a different side of the road wasn't practical. So, engineers came up with a brilliant solution, trucks with two steering wheels. One for the left side of the road and one for the right. Sounds simple, right? But the story behind this invention is anything but ordinary. Let's rewind to the mid-20th century, a time when trucking was becoming the backbone of international trade. Trucks were carrying goods across borders, connecting countries and economies. But there was a catch, not every country drove on the same side of the road. In some places, like the UK, drivers stayed on the left. In others, like France or Germany, they drove on the right. This might not sound like a big deal for regular cars, but for trucks, it was a massive problem. Imagine you're a truck driver in the 1960s. You're hauling a load from London to Paris. In the UK, you're driving on the left side of the road, with the steering wheel on the right side of the truck. But as soon as you cross the English Channel into France, everything flips. Now, you're supposed to drive on the right side of the road, with the steering wheel on the left. What do? You can't just switch trucks at the border, that's expensive and time-consuming. And driving a right-hand drive truck on the right side of the road? That's not just awkward, it's downright dangerous. Think about it, driving a truck designed for the right side of the road, but suddenly you're in a country where you have to drive on the left. Your visibility is compromised. Overtaking other vehicles becomes a nightmare. Even simple tasks like checking mirrors or judging distances become harder. And let's not forget the stress of navigating unfamiliar roads while sitting on the wrong side of the vehicle. It wasn't just inconvenient, it was a safety hazard for drivers and everyone else on the road. So, what was the solution? Truck manufacturers couldn't just tell drivers to deal with it. They needed a way to make cross-border trucking safer, more efficient, and less stressful. And that's where the idea of dual steering wheels came into play. But how did it work? And why didn't every truck have this feature? Well, that's a story for the next part of our journey. So, how did engineers tackle this cross-border driving dilemma? They came up with a solution that was as clever as it was simple, trucks with two steering wheels. That's right, one steering wheel on the left side of the cab, and one on the right. This meant drivers could switch sides depending on which country they were in, without needing a different truck or awkward adjustments. It was a game changer for international trucking. Now, you might be wondering, how did this dual steering system actually work? Well, it wasn't as complicated as you might think. Both steering wheels were connected to the same steering mechanism. When the driver turned one wheel, the other moved in sync. It was like having two brains controlling one body. To switch sides, the driver had to move to the other seat and take control of the second steering wheel. No need to stop, no need for extra tools, just a quick switch, and they were ready to go. This wasn't just a theoretical idea, it was put into practice by some of the biggest names in trucking. Take the Scania Vabis, for example. This iconic truck was one of the first to feature dual steering wheels, and it became a favorite among European drivers. Then there was the Volvo F88, another legendary truck that embraced this innovative design. These trucks weren't just vehicles, they were symbols of ingenuity, designed to make life easier for drivers navigating a patchwork of driving rules across Europe. The introduction of dual steering wheels wasn't just a technical achievement, it was a lifeline for truck drivers. It saved time, reduced costs, and most importantly, made cross-border driving safer. Drivers no longer had to worry about adjusting to unfamiliar setups or risking accidents due to poor visibility. It was a perfect example of how engineering can solve real-world problems in the most unexpected ways. The 1960s and 1970s were a golden age for trucking innovation, and dual steering wheels were at the heart of it. This was a time when international trade was booming and trucks were the lifeline of economies. But with countries like the UK driving on the left and most of Europe driving on the right, truck manufacturers faced a unique challenge. Dual steering wheels emerged as the perfect solution, making cross-border transportation smoother, safer, and more efficient. It wasn't just a feature, it was a revolution. But what was it really like to drive these dual steering trucks? Let's hear it from the drivers themselves. One veteran trucker recalled how switching steering wheels felt like switching personalities. He said, "One moment, I'm driving on the left in the UK, feeling like a local. The next, I'm in France, switching to the right side wheel, and it's like I'm a completely different driver. It was strange at first, but it made my job so much easier." Another driver shared how the dual steering system saved him time and stress, especially when crossing multiple borders in a single trip. For these drivers, dual steering wheels weren't just a feature, they were a lifeline. The impact of dual steering wheels went beyond just convenience. They transformed international trucking. Drivers could now focus on the road instead of worrying about adjusting to different driving setups. Companies saved money by not needing separate fleets for different countries. And most importantly, it made roads safer for everyone. Dual steering wheels weren't just a technical marvel, they were a symbol of how innovation can solve real-world problems. Today, dual steering wheels are a rare sight, but they remain a fascinating chapter in trucking history. They remind us of a time when the open road was full of challenges and clever solutions. For truck enthusiasts, these trucks are more than just vehicles, they're a testament to human ingenuity and the spirit of adventure. So, if dual steering wheels were such a brilliant solution, why did they disappear? The answer lies in the changing world of transportation. Over time, many countries began to standardize their driving rules. While some places, like the UK and Japan, kept left-hand driving, most of the world moved toward right-hand driving. This shift reduced the need for trucks to adapt to different sides of the road. At the same time, road infrastructure improved, making cross-border travel smoother and more predictable. Dual steering wheels, once a necessity, started to feel like an extra feature that wasn't needed anymore. But it wasn't just about regulations, technology played a huge role too. Modern trucks evolved to solve the same problem in a different way. Instead of two steering wheels, manufacturers introduced adjustable seating and steering columns. These features allowed drivers to customize their driving position based on the country they were in. For example, a driver could slide the seat and steering column to the left or right, depending on the driving rules. This innovation was simpler, cheaper, and just as effective as dual steering wheels. It was a classic case of technology finding a better way to solve an old problem. There was another big reason dual steering wheels faded away: cost. Building and maintaining two steering systems in a single truck wasn't cheap. It added extra weight, required more parts, and increased the chances of mechanical issues. For trucking companies, every penny counted, and dual steering wheels became a luxury they couldn't justify. As the industry focused on cost-effective solutions, this once revolutionary feature slowly became a thing of the past. And just like that, dual steering wheels disappeared from the roads. But their legacy lives on. They remind us of a time when trucking was full of challenges and creative solutions. While they may no longer be practical, they remain a symbol of innovation and adaptability in the face of change. Another reason dual steering wheels faded away was the shift in global economics and environmental concerns. In the mid-20th century, fuel was relatively cheap, and the focus was on solving immediate problems like cross-border driving. But as the world changed, so did priorities. By the 1980s and 1990s, fuel efficiency became a major concern. Truck manufacturers started looking for ways to cut down on unnecessary weight and complexity, because every extra pound meant higher fuel consumption and higher costs. Dual steering systems, while innovative, added extra weight to the truck. Think about it: 2 steering wheels, additional wiring, and a more complex mechanism. All of this added up, making the truck heavier and less fuel efficient. In an era where sustainability and cost-effectiveness became key, dual steering wheels simply didn't make sense anymore. Trucking companies needed solutions that were lighter, simpler, and more economical. But it wasn't just about fuel efficiency. Environmental concerns were also on the rise. Governments around the world started introducing stricter emission standards, pushing manufacturers to design cleaner, greener trucks. Dual steering wheels, with their added weight and complexity, didn't fit into this new vision. They were a product of their time, a brilliant solution for a specific problem, but not sustainable in the long run. This shift in priorities marked the end of an era for dual steering wheels. They were replaced by lighter, more efficient designs that aligned with the needs of a changing world. But even as they disappeared, they left behind a lesson: innovation must adapt to the times, balancing practicality, cost, and environmental impact. Dual steering wheels may no longer be on the roads, but their impact on trucking history is undeniable. They were more than just a feature, they were a testament to human creativity and engineering. At a time when cross-border trucking was filled with challenges, dual steering wheels showed that no problem is too big to solve. They paved the way for safer, more efficient transportation and inspired future innovations in the industry. In many ways, they were a symbol of the trucking spirit: adaptable, resourceful, and always moving forward. While dual steering wheels are rare today, their spirit lives on in other forms. For example, dual controls are still used in training vehicles, where instructors need to take over in case of an emergency. You'll also find similar setups in specialized machinery, like construction vehicles or airport tugs, where flexibility is key. These modern applications may not look the same, but they carry the same idea: using innovation to solve unique challenges. For truck enthusiasts, dual steering wheels are more than just a piece of history. They're a reminder of a time when the open road was full of surprises and challenges. These trucks represent an era of adventure, where every journey was a test of skill and ingenuity. They remind us of the drivers who navigated winding roads, crossed borders, and delivered goods against all odds. In a world of modern, standardized trucks, dual steering wheels stand out as a symbol of a bygone era, when every trip was a story waiting to be told. Dual steering wheels may have disappeared, but their legacy endures. They remind us that innovation isn't just about solving problems, it's about pushing boundaries and imagining new possibilities. And in the world of trucking, that spirit of creativity and adaptability will always be alive and well. Dual steering wheels weren't just a technical innovation, they became a cultural icon. For many, they symbolized the adventurous spirit of truck drivers who braved long journeys across borders. These drivers weren't just delivering goods, they were explorers, navigating winding roads, unpredictable weather, and ever-changing landscapes. Dual steering wheels became a badge of honor, a sign that you were part of an elite group of drivers who could handle anything the road threw at you. But their influence didn't stop at the trucking community. Dual steering wheels made their way into movies and TV shows, often portrayed as the ultimate tool for the rugged, independent trucker. Think about it: a truck with 2 steering wheels instantly screams adventure. It's the kind of detail that filmmakers loved because it added an extra layer of authenticity and excitement to their stories. Whether it was a gritty drama about cross-border smuggling or a heartwarming tale of a trucker's journey, dual steering wheels became a symbol of freedom, resilience, and the open road. And it wasn't just in fiction. Real-life truckers who drove these dual steering trucks were often seen as legends. They were the ones who could cross continents, adapt to different driving rules, and still deliver their cargo on time. For many, these trucks weren't just vehicles, they were companions on a journey, a testament to the ingenuity and determination of the people who drove them. This cultural significance made dual steering wheels more than just a feature, they became a legend on wheels. They represented a time when trucking wasn't just a job, it was a way of life. And even though they're no longer on the roads, their legacy lives on in the stories, movies, and memories of an era when the open road was full of possibilities. From solving the challenges of cross-border driving to becoming a symbol of innovation, dual steering wheels were a fascinating chapter in trucking history. We've explored how they were invented to tackle the problem of different driving rules, how they revolutionized international trucking, and why they eventually disappeared. But most importantly, we've seen how this quirky feature left a lasting legacy, reminding us that even the most unusual ideas can have a big impact. Now, here's a question for you. Should dual steering wheels make a comeback, or are they better left in the past? With modern technology, could they find a new purpose, or have we moved beyond the need for them? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear what you think. If you enjoyed this deep dive into trucking history, don't forget to hit the like button and share this video with your friends. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more fascinating stories like this one. Every click and subscription helps us bring more incredible content your way.